Good evening and welcome to the Civil Service Commission meeting of February 10, 2021. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Historian is absent at the moment. Commissioner Gazarian. Commissioner Gazarian.
Commissioner Kazarian, maybe a thumbs up.
He's muted.
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, let's see if we'll ask him again, maybe.
Sure, Commissioner Gazarian. He may not be able to hear us. I did, for the record, he was on the
We might do a roll call again afterwards. Just go ahead and go to the next person.
Commissioner Artunian. If you can please unmute your mic, sir.
Here.
Perfect. Commissioner McCarley.
Yeah, present.
Sheriff Karen.
Here.
For the record,
Next
Commissioner
item.
Historian is absent, and Commissioner Gazarian will probably try to rejoin us in a second. Next item, minutes for the meeting of January 13, 2021.
We've read. I would move for approval.
Move to approve with, is there a second?
I'm sorry, I will second.
Okay, move to approve and dispense with reading, roll call. I'm sorry, it's a unanimous approval. So what's next item?
Full communication.
Just for the record, Mr. Gazarian has joined the call.
Any oral communication?
We do not have any oral communications.
Thank you. What's next item?
Recruitment and examination report.
So,
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a note and file report. It's our monthly recruitment and examination status. Essentially, we look at all of our active recruitments by the department, or promotional process, the filing period, and the dates of the exams, if any, are scheduled. We have looks like 46 recruitment processes right now. Many of these are active, some are on hold. We are doing a hiring freeze for the most part since the inception of the pandemic, but there are a lot of things being let through just based on vacancies and other needs that departments have. I do point out, even though this is not a civil service process, the city manager process is the final filing period was last Friday, February the 5th. And again, that's being handled by a city council exclusively. There is a recruitment that has not made it onto this list because, by the time we had to do the agenda, we didn't have the details yet. But the general manager for Glendale Water and Power is well underway. We're putting the finishing touches on the brochure for that one. That, if you recall, came before the commission in December, and we've been waiting for the appropriate point to begin that. And I think our interim city manager wanted to see the city manager process go first, and then what's next. Anyway, we anticipate an opening date of probably either the end of this week or the beginning of next week on the general manager for water and power. That'll be open for approximately a month. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. As I said previously, this is a note and file item.
any questions? Okay, hearing none. I just ask you guys, anyone who is not speaking, if you can just turn your mic to mute, because then it switches back and forth on the camera as well. Plus, we hear some background noise. So if you can just mute your mic, we would appreciate it. Thank you. All right, what's next?
Eligible list established.
Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is the report, a very brief one, on eligible lists that have been established through the pretty much the month of January. again, following the holidays, it was, I don't want to say a slow month, but we did have a few recruitments conclude toward the end of the month. You see 3 lists established, 2 promotional and 1 that was open and promotional. Interesting part of that, police, it was a community service officer / records for the police department. Quite a large number of applicants, showing 739. We had 631 participate in a written exam. 61 individuals participate in typing test, and then we did an oral board for 56 candidates on that. And ultimately, the eligible list yielded 17 individuals. And it's kind of an indication of how the recruitment process works. It's kind of like a funnel where we have large numbers at the beginning, and then by the end of our rather rigorous process, a rather small group, but it's a group that we think is eligible and ready to go. But even with that, because this is for the police department, any individuals put forth for that job would have to pass a background investigation. So that may further reduce the size of that candidate pool. But again, a good example of the time, the effort, the work that goes into our testing process. So again, this is a note and file item, but if the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer those for you.
Anyone has any questions? None. What's next?
We do have Greg Historian joining us right now. I just want to note
great.
that. And
Yeah, I'm seeing 2 of each of you. So Albert, I got 2 pictures of you.
Whoever's speaking, Mr. Historian, whoever's speaking will be on GTV. So person you will see twice.
The next item is class specification for approval, building official.
Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a class specification for the approval for the building official. And this is, to be clear, this is a revision of an existing job title and an existing job classification. It's essentially time to update this one. While the fundamentals of what the building official is responsible for really hasn't changed much over the years, this specification is over 20 years old. So it is, again, appropriate time to look at it and determine what changes and what needs to be updated with it. Really, what initiated this revision is, again, looking at the role of the building official and an effort to somewhat reorganize our building and safety section, really to have the building official, which must be a registered engineer, to have the building official focus mainly on the technical and the engineering aspects of the job, and less so on the tasks associated with sort of the administrative and supervisorial sides of the job. The building official is the expert on the building code and plan review. So he or she will supervise all of the engineering staff in the building section, but the inspectors, the permit technicians, and other people that work the counters will report to the permit services administrator. So the reorganization is essentially, trying to find a dividing line between the technical side of it and the more the administrative customer service side of things. That's really the gist of really what this specification revision is about. If you have questions, we'd be happy to try and answer them for you. Phil Lanzafame, the Director of Community Development, is here, and also Ida Babayan from my staff prepared this item. So if you have questions, we'll do our best to help you with those. Mr. Chair.
Anyone has any questions on the item, on this item? Any of the commissioners? Mr. Lanzafame, do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Mr. Doyle said, this really is about a reorganization that came about with the retirement of the last building official. What we've seen over probably the last 10 years, and the last two building officials, that this was naturally separated anyway between the building official and an administrative manager. And so we're formalizing that and having the building official really focus on the technical. And then I have 6 divisions, so I'm able to use some resources in other divisions to meet the administrative piece of this. So it really is an attempt to focus on the technical and move that division and the department forward.
Got it. Thank you. Anyone has any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Lanzapane, this is Carly. How are you this evening?
Very good. Nice to see you.
My pleasure as well. Do we expect in the next couple of months a recruitment action with respect to this new specification for the building official?
Yes, sir, I do. The building code, we're pretty sure the building code requires us to have that. We do have somebody in an acting position that is registered and in fact is certified as a building official. So we believe that's covered, but I would like to have somebody permanent again, so that we can finish that restructuring and take the division forward.
Thank you, Mr. Lanzapane. Just one follow-up. Is it the expectation, and perhaps the question is premature, this would be an open recruitment or promotional within your great team?
The last time that we did this was promotional, and we believe that we have the experience and the talent qualifications on staff. So I would expect a promotional recruitment.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Nothing else? Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
McCarty is second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Astorian second. Call, please.
Commissioner Astorian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gazarian,
Yes.
Commissioner Harutunian,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarley,
Yes.
Sheriff Carrion.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
of course. Have a nice day. What's next?
Class specification for approval, emergency medical services nurse specialist.
Hello?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a class specification for a newly established classification. As Narek said, it's Emergency Medical Services Nurse Specialist, and this is for the fire department. This position really acts as a key medical advisor and, for lack of a better term, educator for the fire department's EMT program, the paramedic program, even the emergency medical dispatch programs as well. They also do a lot of advisory work and education on pre-hospital procedures and medical procedures involving our firefighters and paramedics. These services are currently provided through a contract with the UCLA, and while they do an outstanding job with our fire department, we do need more or less a full-time individual providing these services, particularly as the department navigates through the pandemic, as well as just the increasing number of medical calls that the fire department has to deal with. So with that, as the report indicates, if this specification title is approved, staff will work with the fire department in conducting a recruitment in the coming months, and again, we'll bring this function in-house. With that, if the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. As you can see, we have Chief Lanzas here as well as Manya Hunanian from my staff who worked on this item. So, Mr. Chair.
Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Matt Doyle explained it very well. This is something that I've wanted to do since the day I walked in the door. We've been using the services of UCLA on a part-time basis, 2 days a week. And frankly, the call volume, the expectations of the EMS changes, as you can imagine with COVID, the things that happen so often, almost daily, with changes to EMS protocols and policies are something that I need somebody on staff that can help keep that pace and keep our employees following all those procedures and policies, as well as providing quality assurance and quality acceptance. So this is a much needed position within the EMS section. Just a point for the commission, there is no increased cost to this. I've been able to do this through some restructuring within the organization. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone has any questions?
Yes. Chief, good evening.
Commissioner McCarty?
Thank you. Chief, good evening. As we discussed on multiple occasions about the quality of your program, always superlative. It is an interesting to me new job based upon your plan incorporated within the hierarchy of your department. From a sort of an analysis of organizational structure within this city, is this individual to report to the city medical director on a direct report? Is it a lateral sort of keep medical director apprised, but this fine individual, whomever you will select, is really a subordinate to one of your battalion chiefs?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Commissioner McCarley, outstanding question. To answer it simply, this individual will report to the EMS battalion chief. The medical director for our organization, for the fire department, who happens to be also the medical director for the police department for their EMT program, is not a fire department or a city employee. It's also a contracted employee that we contract those duties for. So this employee, the nurse educator, nurse specialist, would report directly to the EMS battalion chief.
I appreciate that. Now lapsing into sort of a view of the delivery of medical services, and we're almost forced to do that in the context of the pandemic, the discussion at council about perhaps the implementation of a public health officer within the city of Glendale, whether or not this individual and individual assigned to the battalion chief will have a broad-based area of operations to include the fire department, crossover to the police department, and to provide both guidance and continuing education to other fine individuals within the city in areas such as EMS, EMT, 1 Alpha, 1 Bravo, that sort of thing. There's a huge utility to this. I applaud your effort to do this. This is extremely valuable. Somehow I think you're being, take this for what it's worth. It's an inappropriate comment, selfish by keeping it within your command rather than providing the value, the huge value that you have clearly ascertained and provided across the city. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. Anyone else?
I will move
Motion?
the item.
Mr. Artunian moved the item. Or was it Mr. Sturgeon?
I'll second.
Mr. Sturgeon moves it. Any second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Artunian second. It doesn't matter. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sturgeon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gazarian,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartunian,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarley,
Yes.
Chair Karen.
I abstain. What's next?
Job bulletin for approval. Firefighter, recruit, paramedic, promotional.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this item is, this time it's not a specification, but a job bulletin for approval for our firefighter recruit slash paramedic. As the commission is well aware, not every bulletin is required to come before the commission. And in this case, we're bringing this because there are, it is deviating from the approved class spec in a couple of ways. The biggest being that we are requiring for this position a paramedic license. In any normal firefighter recruit process, all we require is the EMT, but that leads to the second reason that this is being brought before you, is that it's being handled on a promotional basis as opposed to an open basis. And we believe that we have within our ambulance operator core a sufficient number of candidates who have that paramedic license or will have it within the time allotted for this particular bulletin in order for us to have a sufficient a class of recruit / paramedics for hire. As the commission, I think, is well aware, this ambulance operator has proven to be a very effective means of promoting individuals that we hire, typically local individuals. We work with them, and to the extent that they get to really experience the day-to-day life of being a firefighter, they work with the firefighters. They go on all the calls together and such. So it's really good preparation, and thus this bulletin will be again a promotional process with all of the requirements set forth, including that paramedic license, as well as some of the other sort of the academic and completion standards in order to promote to this. And as I said earlier, we believe we have a sufficient pool internally to make this happen and get a new class out relatively soon. So with that, again, I'll turn it over to the commission if you have questions. This is, again, Chief Lanzas's department. So if you have questions for either of us, be happy to try and answer them. And I do want to give credit to Narek Petrosian from my staff who worked with the fire department on this. Mr. Chair.
Anyone in the commission has any comments? Mr. McCarty.
Yeah, thank you. And not to put the chief on the spot again, we have one of the finest leaders, certainly in the area of fire prevention and fire containment. That said, will this become the singular pipeline for new recruits into the fire department? To be specific, if I want to make a significant career change and seek application to the department, would the first point or first opportunity be to respond to a recruitment, certainly an open recruitment for an ambulance driver, rather than to wait for an across-the-board recruitment, open recruitment for a firefighter, assuming I have the EMT2, the paramedic license?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Commissioner McCarley, another good question. I would love to tell you, yes, that this would be our singular process for hiring individuals into our organization. As you know, we are pretty much a paramedic hiring organization only now because of our structure at the firefighter rank, firefighter paramedic rank. The requirements for paramedic school take about a year. And these individuals who will be meeting this qualification have met that, most of them through our sponsorship. We sponsor our ambulance operators to go to paramedic programs, which means we support them. They get to wear a uniform. We waive some of their fees to get into school. But to answer your question, a lot of it depends on the number of vacancies that I have. Because of the 1 year requirement for school, I don't know that we will always have a candidate pool ready. We believe that we have 6 to 8 individuals who will apply for this process that meet that qualification. Just as an example, our last class, we hired 12 and none of them, because these kids just got out of school. Some of them are really just going to make it. They're finishing school. Because of the pandemic, again, some of the requirements got pushed out. They're going to be finishing school right around April 15th and jumping right into an academy starting in May. So to answer your question, kind of long-winded, I can't tell you that it will be the only way. If it were up to me, it would be, because these young men and women spend time in our fire station. We get to see their work. They're largely locally trained and talented individuals from within our communities. Many of them are Verdugo Fire Academy graduates. But to answer your question again, I can't say that it'll be the only way.
I appreciate the candid response. That said, will you leave the door open, Chief, for lateral recruitment? For instance, if the pipeline or the number of ambulance drivers somehow is degraded, that with the needs, expanding needs for additional personnel at your department, that you would go lateral?
We have done a lateral exam within the last 3 years. It did prove to be successful. I think lateral is definitely one way to do it, especially when you start to have large numbers of people retiring, and therefore you need some experience coming into the organization and not just brand new employees. We do anticipate class 86, 87, 89 were large classes, and then we didn't have a class again until 95. So we do anticipate somewhat of a slowdown in the need to hire over the next few years. So we hope that we could stay with the promotional process of our ambulance operators for at least the next few years.
Yeah, and I'm not going to belabor this, and I appreciate the patience of my fellow commissioners. Those of us on the commission who, in other walks of our lives, mentor young people as they transition from either school or the military, I believe what you're suggesting is the first point of engagement with your fine department would be, and the recommendation I personally would make to a young man or woman who's transitioning from the military would be to apply for the fire ambulance position, at which point the benefits are exposure within your department, the gaining of tactical experience, and perhaps most importantly, because it's so bloody expensive, that paramedic course, having had some personal engagement with it, that you are indeed, you, meaning your department, is sponsoring it. So it's an interesting avenue. I support it. It is unusual, but looks like it has huge benefits for your department.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarley.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll take a motion.
I move.
Move second.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Astorian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gazarian,
Yes.
Maratunian,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarley,
Yes.
Sheriff Carrion.
I abstain. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
What's next?
Reports?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, the only report we have is our monthly report on past due evaluations, page, I believe it's 27 for you. Once again, a nice report showing 2 departments have some past due evaluations, the other 13, none. So altogether, I think a good report. Very proud of our departments in light of so many people working off site, telecommuting, and staff being all different places so that they're able to to keep up with the evaluations and make contact and continue to supervise well. It says a lot. So with that, if the commission has any questions, be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Any questions from the commission? There are none. What's next?
Civil Service Commission, staff comments.
Any comments from Civil Service Commissioners? Any comments from the staff? Oh,
The Chair Carey and I do have a comment to make.
please, Mr.
I wanted to congratulate you for the chairmanship.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
wanted to congratulate our vice chair, Mr. Artunian, and also extend my thanks to Mr. Gazarian for an exemplary service that you provided. I've watched you all along. So I appreciate all 3 of you, and no doubt I'll be learning a great deal from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Assyrian, much
Thank
appreciated.
you.
I think we're going to go, next item is Mr.
Next item is
Yeah.
closed session, public employee appointment, reinstatement request, energy marketer trader.
We will be going into a closed session, and we will be possibly be reporting out, but we will not be on GTV. So my understanding would be, Ms. Warpetian, that whoever is not going to be on the closed session needs to log off now, correct?
That's correct.
So anyone who's not going to be part of the closed session, we ask that they would log off from the actual this session, please.
I am sorry, if I may have some clarification, can I attend the closed session or no?
Yes, of course, of course.
Thank you.
Yes.
Of course.
The chair was referring to any people viewing the meeting who aren't directly involved in this particular item. So,
I apologize if not clear.
so Mr. Chair, it does look to me as if